Gaze upon it. Gaze upon the real highest SAD damage number. Anyways, let's just quickly go over the build breakdown, right? You're gonna have 2-piece Fulgur, 2-piece Gormagala, 2-piece Mitsune, 2-piece Dogma Apocalypse. The way you're gonna spread these skills is you're gonna want 1 piece of Gormagala in your weapon. You're gonna get the Fulgur Engineer from the Gogmazios Remembrances Alpha. You're gonna get the Mizutsune from Gogmazios Coil Beta. Then you're gonna use the armor pieces as you can see in the screen right now, right? So there are 2 variations of this build, one with a critical boost 4 and the other one with critical boost 3 or another skill that you could possibly want. So on the first variation you are going to need a charm with elemental attack. In this case for Gogmazios it has to be dragon attack or fire attack and elemental absorption. Now keep in mind that if you're using a build like this, you can't really afford to have 2 elements in the same build because your charm will have the elemental attack of 1. So while you will have critical boost 4, you will have to go back to your tent and change flow. For example, if you do P1 fire on Gogmazios, you're gonna have to go back to camp and get dragon attack. So you can see that it is a very uncomfortable thing to get. Right? You would much rather go with low shells rapid morph elemental absorption. You can also just go with a low shells elemental absorption. As long as you get low shells elemental absorption, it is fine. You can play around with the decals a little bit. Overall, if you do it that way, you're gonna lose 1 skill, right? But it is not that big of a deal as opposed to losing elemental absorption, which is on for 66% of the hunt, or around 60% of the hunt, considering you gotta have to recover, right? So one of the biggest selling points of this build over 4-piece Gogmazios is the fact that the 2-piece Gormagala and the Mizutsune pieces combo very well with keeping coalescence up. So in practice, you have a minimum of plus 25% coalescence uptime. In practice, as opposed to 2-piece Gormagala, which is less, right? 2-piece Gormagala would have a 40% uptime, right? The 2-piece Mizutsune would already be better. This current set, it's like twice the amount. But if we compare this set with the 2-piece Mizutsune, you get a bare minimum of 25% more of it. This can of course go up to around 30% more, which totals 85% coalescence uptime for the entirety of the hunt, which is pretty big, all things considered. The Fulgur piece is in here to help with maximum might. Also, the Gormagala piece gives you 25% extra critical rate, because while you are getting extremely close to the elemental cap, you are 1 point away from hit. You are 1,439 element instead of 1,449. That equals out to 0.3 damage on the AD, and around how much? Around 7 damage. Give or take on SAD, it scales up to 15, maybe. That is 75 damage overall. On the best case scenario, you get way more than 75 damage over the course of the entire hunt, especially because you have to do ADs by having 2-piece Gormagala and the extra coalescence uptime, right? Now, as how to play with this build, it is a little bit tricky, so let's just move over to the training area, right? So let's just get down to business. How to play this build is a little bit tricky, but as long as you keep a couple of things in mind, you should be completely fine. And even if you don't keep those things in mind, this build has in general better uptime and more elemental damage than 4-piece Gogmazios. So all in all, you're gonna be fine either way. So let's just get Savage X and get down to business. Now, the first thing you gotta keep in mind is that Gormagala is going to be your indicator for most of the stuff that is about to happen. So, we have Gormagala skill now. 1 dodge forward and start hitting. Our objective here is to proc Coalescence once. Boom, Coalescence proc. Dodge once, dodge again, Mizutsune proc. What just happened was, as soon as Coalescence proc, between a 5-second time frame, we immediately proc Mizutsune's skill. What this means is that as soon as Coalescence runs out, we're about to immediately get it again. Now, the funny thing is, it's that we won't have to reproc it again with 3 dodges until after the Gore Magala skill procs in. So, as you can see, but now the Gore Magala skill is on a 30-second cooldown as well. So as you can see, it's about to run out. So as soon as Coalescence ends, we are going to reproc it with Gore Magala, right? This is going to be your main gameplay loop. And as long as you can keep in your mind that to dodge every so often, you will always have Coalescence up in some form or another. Oh. Coalescence went off. Let's just say that 5 seconds for me to pick it again. Probably was less, but that should be a reasonable thing every time. And then we do 3 dodges again. Next one might didn't fall off, but it will fall off eventually. And that is considering, by the way, you don't just literally get hit by any monster attack, because if you do, Coalescence just immediately procs again. Now, in that case, you're gonna have to dodge a couple of times again, you know, just to reproc the Mizutsune's skill, just to be safe, you know. You never want to have any downtime on Coalescence, because the build heavily relies on it, but as long as you keep that in your mind, it's fine. By default, you will have 25%, give or take, more uptime than the 4-piece gogmazios on Coalescence alone. We are not talking about things like maximum height, 25% extra crit, you know. And yeah, those are the only things you really gotta keep in your brain. It really does help to be always looking at the left side of the screen, and that's about it. See you.